You are going with him today. That's the end of it.
No! You can't force me to do this!
What happens when a millionaire forces his wife into an affair with another man, believing it will give him ultimate control? What he doesn't anticipate is that the consequences of his decision will turn everything he holds dear upside down. This isn't just a story about power, it's about betrayal, trust, and the unthinkable outcome that will leave you speechless. In today's story, we witness a man who believes that his wealth, power, and control over his wife make him invincible. However, when he forces her into an affair with another man, a game he assumes is orchestrating, he unknowingly sets off a chain of events that spirals out of control. What begins as an attempt to solidify his dominance over her soon transforms into a nightmare. As emotions, trust, and control are tested, the millionaire soon realizes that his wife is no longer the pawn he imagined, but a force far beyond his reach. The stakes are raised to an unimaginable height, and the once confident man now finds himself in a battle he cannot win. The atmosphere is tense, uncomfortably still, as if the air itself is holding its breath. Inside the expansive, glass-walled penthouse, the lights of the city flicker below, but there is no comfort here. The cold, hard reality of their situation is reflected in the silence that hangs between them. The man, once so sure of his position of power, now struggles with an unsettling sense of doubt. His wealth and control over his wife are no longer enough to quiet the turmoil inside him. His wife, sitting across the room, seems at ease, calm even, an enigmatic presence that only serves to frustrate him more. She's always been the obedient wife, the beautiful accessory to his success, but now something has shifted. There is a coldness in her eyes that he cannot understand, a quiet determination he cannot break. For the first time, he feels a nagging fear that he is no longer in control. His manipulation, his demand that she sleep with another man, was supposed to reaffirm his power, yet it has only brought them both to the edge of something darker. But here's the question. What if this game of power, control, and manipulation isn't just about his ego? What if the affair he's forced upon his wife isn't about him at all? What if it's about something far deeper, a reckoning he never saw coming? As the tension builds, the stakes grow higher. What will happen when the truth finally comes to light? Stay tuned, because the outcome of this decision will change everything. Let's dive into the story. The penthouse was quiet, save for the low hum of the city far below. The glass walls offered an unparalleled view of the skyline, the lights flickering in the distance like 1,000 tiny stars. But inside, there was no comfort, no peace. The air was thick, heavy with unspoken words and strained silences. It felt like the walls were closing in, the vast, luxurious space somehow shrinking with every passing moment. She stood by the window, her gaze distant, almost as if she was somewhere else entirely. The reflection of the lights outside painted her face with a cold, ghostly glow. He watched her from the leather couch, tension pulling at every inch of his body. His fingers drummed absently on the armrest, though his thoughts were anything but idle. He had orchestrated this moment, this arrangement, one he thought would cement his control over her, but now he felt a gnawing anxiety he couldn't shake. His wife, once docile, had become a mystery to him. Every calculated move he made was met with her calm, unyielding silence. She wasn't his pawn anymore. She wasn't even his wife. She was something else, something dangerous. The millionaire felt the weight of his decision pressing down on him, his mind racing as his eyes flicked from his wife's still form to the quiet reflection of the city in the glass. There was a tension in his chest, a subtle discomfort that had been growing since the moment he had forced her into this arrangement. The affair. It was supposed to be a simple game, a way to remind her of who was in control. But it wasn't turning out the way he'd expected. The desire to control her, to dominate, had always been the foundation of their marriage. Now, as he sat there, he couldn't help but feel a sickening sense of loss. For the first time in years, he was beginning to question everything he'd built. The empire, the wealth, the influence. It was all slipping from his grasp, and the worst part was that he didn't know why. She, on the other hand, appeared untouched by his inner turmoil. Her composure was maddening. She didn't seem to feel the same anxiety, the same fear that was consuming him. Her calmness only amplified his frustration. He was the one who had created the situation, but she seemed oddly detached, almost as though she had already won. She wasn't angry or upset. No, there was something far more unsettling in her quiet demeanor, a strength he couldn't comprehend. The silence stretched on until it became unbearable. Finally, unable to hold it in any longer, he broke the quiet. His voice, usually firm and commanding, came out shaky, strained with frustration. "What do you want from me?" His words cut through the tension like a knife, his eyes burning into her. She didn't flinch. Her gaze remained fixed on the city below, her profile illuminated in the soft glow of the city lights. Her response was measured, cool, as if she was simply answering a question she had already anticipated. "I don't want anything from you," she said, her voice low but deliberate. "You're the one who's lost everything." The words hit him harder than he expected. His heart skipped a beat, a sharp pang of unease shooting through him. What did she mean? He was the one who controlled this situation, wasn't he? He was the one who had set the terms, who had forced her into this affair with another man. But as she stood there, unmoving, her words took root in his mind. For the first time, he wasn't so sure. He had pushed her into this, but the power dynamic had shifted in a way he couldn't explain. The more he thought about it, the more unsettling her calmness became. The woman he had married, the woman he thought he knew, was slipping away from him. She had agreed to the affair, yes, but not in the way he expected. She wasn't playing by the rules he had set. And now, as he looked at her, he realized that the game was no longer just about control, it was about something far deeper, something he wasn't prepared for. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping harshly against the floor as he moved toward her. She didn't budge. He was towering over her now, his chest heaving with the intensity of his emotions. His fingers clenched into fists at his sides, and for a moment, he almost reached out to grab her, to make her look at him, to force her to acknowledge his presence. But something stopped him. The look in her eyes. It was as if she could see right through him, through his anger, his frustration, his desperation. And that terrified him. "Do you think I don't see what you're doing?" His voice trembled slightly, but he pushed forward. "You're playing some game, aren't you? Trying to make me jealous, to make me feel small." Her lips parted just slightly, but she didn't speak for a long time. When she finally did, her voice was softer than before, but still cutting through him like a blade. "I'm not trying to make you feel anything," she said quietly. "I'm just trying to survive." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. Survive? She wasn't the one who needed to survive. He had given her everything, luxury, security, everything she could ever want. But now, it felt like she was the one in control. The realization hit him like a tidal wave. He wasn't in charge. Not anymore. He never had been. And she knew it. The conflict had begun. The dynamics of their relationship, so carefully constructed, had been shattered in an instant, and the fallout would be more destructive than either of them could have ever imagined. The penthouse, once a symbol of power and wealth, now feels like a gilded cage. The spacious, minimalist interior is a hollow shell compared to the growing storm between the two people it houses. The city lights continue to flicker in the distance, a stark contrast to the stillness that grips the room. The sounds of the city seem muffled, almost irrelevant, as though the world beyond these walls doesn't exist. Inside, every movement feels heavy, charged with the electricity of unspoken words. For the millionaire, time seems to move in slow motion. Each passing day feels like a constant grind of frustration, an endless loop of questions that gnaw at him from the inside out. He can't control her, not anymore. At first, he thought the affair would be a simple game, a way to remind her of his dominance, to prove that no matter how much she resented him, she was still his possession. But now, with every passing day, he feels a growing sense of dread, a quiet terror he can't escape. The way she looks at him, the way she doesn't flinch when he's angry, the way she remains calm, poised, as though nothing he does can rattle her anymore. It eats at him. He wonders if she's already given herself over to this other man completely. What does she feel when she's with him? Does she feel liberated? Or is she playing him like he played her? His frustration bubbles over, creeping into every thought, every moment they share. It's an unsettling feeling, a profound loss of control. He tries to maintain his air of authority, but it's all slipping through his fingers like sand. The woman he thought he could shape, manipulate, and dominate is slipping from his grasp, becoming someone entirely different. Someone beyond him. One evening, As they sit in the penthouse, the tension becomes unbearable. He's been watching her for the past hour, her profile illuminated by the soft glow of the city lights outside. She's sitting by the window again, looking out at the skyline, her expression unreadable. His mind races. He can't stand the silence any longer. The suffocating weight of it presses down on him, and he finally speaks. "You've been distant," he says, his voice low but edged with irritation. "What's going on in that head of yours?" She doesn't turn to face him. Her eyes are fixed on the view, her fingers lightly brushing the edge of her glass of wine. She knows this game. She's played it long enough to know exactly how he'll react. "I've been thinking," she replies softly, almost absently. "About what?" he presses, standing up from the couch and walking toward her. His eyes burn with frustration, and he tries to keep his voice steady, but it cracks with the tension that's been building for days. She finally turns to look at him, her gaze calm, unwavering. "About how much you think you control me," she says, her voice carrying an edge now. "About how you think I'm still the same woman you manipulated and molded into your perfect little image." His chest tightens. The words hit him harder than he expects, their meaning lingering in the air between them like a thick fog. "You don't know what you're talking about," he snaps. "You think I don't see what you're doing? You think you've got me figured out?" Her lips curl into a slight, almost imperceptible smile, one that makes his heart race in both anger and confusion. "I don't think I know everything about you," she responds. "But you don't know anything about me. You've never bothered to know who I really am, not beyond the image you created of me. You never cared." His anger flares up. "So this is what you want? Heh! You're playing some twisted little game to make me jealous? To prove what? That you're not my puppet anymore? Because I can assure you, you still are. You always have been." She stands up now, her movements deliberate, slow. Her gaze doesn't waver, and for a moment, the anger in his chest is overshadowed by the unsettling calmness in hers. "You've never had control over me," she says, her voice icy but clear. "You've just convinced yourself that you do. You've manipulated everything. Yes, you've forced me into this ridiculous affair. But you've never controlled my thoughts, never controlled my feelings." The realization hits him like a slap to the face. He's not in control. Not anymore. He wasn't even in control when he thought he was. The truth sinks in with a cold, brutal clarity. All this time, he thought he was orchestrating the affair, but she had been playing him, too. She agreed to the affair on her own terms, not his. Every move he made, every decision he forced on her, was met with a calm, deliberate response, a response that had only served to push him further into the corner. She had allowed him to believe he was the one in charge, but she knew all along she wasn't just a victim in this game. His breath catches. He stands frozen, his mind racing, trying to process the enormity of the realization. She had been biding her time, waiting for the right moment to expose the truth. And now, the moment has arrived. For a brief moment, the room is silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Then, he finds his voice again. But it's different now, quieter, more uncertain. "What do you want from me?" he asks, the words barely audible, as if asking the question means he's already lost. "I don't want anything from you," she replies, her eyes softening just a little. "I'm done wanting things from you." Her words feel like a blow, a punch to the gut. But it's not anger he feels now. It's something far worse. Fear. Fear that the control he thought he had over her, over their life together, is nothing but an illusion. Fear that everything he's built, all the power and influence he's amassed, amounts to nothing in the face of this deep, cold truth. And it's in that moment, the moment when the weight of everything he's done to her, everything he's forced upon her, crashes down, that he realizes just how much is lost. He's not just lost control over her, he's lost control over himself, over the very reality he's built around them. The stakes have been raised. What started as a game, an attempt to assert his dominance, has turned into something far more dangerous. His grip on everything is slipping, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. What once seemed like a clear path forward now feels like a dark, twisting maze. He doesn't know how to get out, and worse yet, he doesn't even know if he wants to.